Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So I wanted to give you an update on the story that I've covered a couple of times on this channel now. A story that is deeply troubling and it's still hard to believe. It's still hard to wrap my mind around this. That is the story of the 50-year-old man who was allowed to compete against 13-year-old girls, and not only compete against them at swimming competitions, but was also allowed to change in their locker rooms, is allowed to shower in the locker rooms with 13-year-old girls, with children. Apparently, this is what being trans means. It means that you are now allowed to break the age barrier and be in the locker room with children as a grown man. And this is something that many have been warning us about for the longest time. So 50-year-old Nicolas Cepeda, also goes by the name Melody, a college professor who, in my opinion, knows exactly what he is doing. This is a college professor. Apparently, one of his specialties is childhood development. He has competed in masters competitions a couple of times, but generally, he competes in swim meets in the 13-year-old age category. Multiple swim meets. Not only is this person enabled to do this by the aquatic centres or by the sports centres, the police are also enabling this person to shower in the locker rooms with children, with girls. Police resources are being used to protect this person. It was recently reported by Rebel News at a recent swim meet that Nicholas was snuck into the building, escorted into the building, by security to protect Nicholas. Not to protect the young girls, no. But the police are also being used to hinder the freedom of the press. They're also being used to prevent people such as David Menzes going in and reporting this story. If you're okay with this man showering in the locker rooms with children, you're okay with that, why can't the press report it and inform the public as to exactly what is going on? If this is okay because the person is trans, then why can't the press report it? This is a public building, these sports centres, they're taxpayer funded, I believe. Instead of throwing out the predator and making sure that these young girls can compete with their peers, instead of doing that, the police are throwing out David and treating David like he's the threat for simply reporting the story. Instead of banning the 50-year-old man who wants to shower with children, which I believe we can all agree is wrong, right? When did we get to a point where we can't agree on that? There's no words. There's no words for how far society, a civilized society over here in the West, has declined. There's no words. One of the problems with the woke mind virus in many different areas, there never seems to be a line drawn. That's one of the issues, and that's what many of us have been saying for the longest time when it comes to the slippery slope, for example. We're so far down the slippery slope now. Many of us are out of reach. We're so far down the slippery slope. But when we brought up the slippery slope, we were called bigots. And look where we are now. But I guarantee you, when we have grown men showing their bits, it's bad enough that women had to put up with this. Younger women in college had to put up with this. Young girls in sororities had to put up with it. That's bad enough. But now, when we have children having to deal with this, and the parents have nothing to say for the most part. David tried to interview a couple of mothers who were quiet, didn't even want to look him in the eye.
Ladies, what do you think? I think you're mothers with orange velour swimmers. What's that?
Let's go.
I don't think so.
Oh.
No.
All right, I'll go call the cops.
Okay, call the cops. You know what? I'm going to call the cops too. That there's a 50-year-old pervert swimming with girls.
Listen, I got nothing to say about that. That's all I got.
That's the problem, sir. You have nothing to say about that. A real crime. Pardon me? You can't do nothing. Well, I thought you were the operator of this facility.
Nobody wants to draw lines anymore. For example, when we talk about abortion rights, you ask somebody, you ask an activist, where do you draw the line? They can't answer. 9 months? They can't answer. We've even had talk of outside of the womb after being born when it comes to pornography in schools. Joy Reid recently did an interview where she didn't never let the woman speak with one of the founder of Mothers of Liberty. She couldn't even say that pornography in schools is wrong. References to anal grape and dildos and things of that nature is wrong in schools, in elementary school. She couldn't even say that. She refused to draw the line.
What is the expertise that you have and other Moms for Liberty advocates have to decide that a book, an award-winning book like All Boys Aren't Blue, isn't appropriate for students to read? What is your expertise?
What a tragic story of a young man who's anally raped by his adult family member. So you have incest, rape, pedophilia. Joy, you said you'd let me answer, so I'm going to answer
Please
for
do.
you. In what context is a strap-on dildo acceptable for public school? That's my question to you. Tell me what the context around the strap-on dildo or the rape of a minor child by a teacher.
Hold on a second.
No, we're talking about public school.
One moment.
All right.
So now you've asked me questions.
Sure.
I'm going to answer it.
Okay.
Well, who is the main character? What's the name of the main character in All Boys Aren't Blue?
You're asking me right now.
You just gave me very specific information about this book, so you're presenting yourself as somebody expert.
It's the gentleman.
Hold on. Who's the main character in the book?
The main character is the author.
What's his name?
George, I believe, is his first name.
Because you're giving me very specific information that is
You're asking me to remember the name of an author.
You
the
just
name of the
remembered
author
very
doesn't
specific names.
Joy.
So that's my question to the trans right activists. Where do you draw the line? Is this what being trans means? That you can now break the age barrier and a 50-year-old is allowed to shower with 13-year-olds? 50-year-old man, fully intact and everything, is allowed to expose himself to 13-year-old girls? Is that what being trans means? The people who should be condemning this the most are the trans right activists. Because by keeping silent, you are saying that you're okay with this because it's trans. The person is trans. That's what you're saying by keeping silent on this. You certainly are all vocal when it comes to inclusion. Is this being inclusive? Is that how far we want to take inclusion? When it comes to the woke mind virus, people who are infected by it seem incapable of drawing the line.
Now, what happened on Saturday, my super producer, Efren, and I, we got up super early to get there before 6 a.m. to see if we could scrum them coming in to the Pan Am Center. And I found out from sources inside the center that Swim Ontario, which is the provincial regulatory body, is doing everything they can to aid and abet him, beginning with sneaking him in a side entrance that we were not aware of. The Pan Am Center in Toronto is a huge recreational and swimming facility, Megan. But worse than that is the fact that the Toronto Police Service was on hand. They ramped up security. They had something like 4 police SUVs. I mean, in a part of town, Scarborough, that you've got murder, assault, rape, carjacking, but suddenly all these police officers are taking in a swim meet. And why? Well, Megan, the reason is to basically read us the riot act. The police came out at one point with they were delivering something to me from the Pan Am Center, which was a trespass notice.
And so we're going to be issuing you a trespass notice.
But I'm on a public sidewalk, sir.
The Pan Am Center has designated this, it's their property. They want you to move out to the street.
I am not on their property. I'm on the sidewalk, and that's a road. That's the King's Highway. So I have not gone in there, and I'm not trespassing. We know there's a 50-year-old man going into the change room. Hold on, no, officer, excuse me.
You guys know, this is public property here, and so he's going to be allowed to stay here.
There's a 50-year-old man going into the change room. No, wait a minute. No, not coming. Officer, I'm asking you to uphold your oath. This is a crime against section 173.1 and 173.2 of the criminal code, officer. What are you going to do about the pervert? What are you going to do about a 50-year-old man?
Thank you.
It's absolutely infuriating to see this. These male police officers, these men are standing there worried about a journalist simply holding this predator accountable. Why do you want to change in the locker room with 13-year-old girls? Can you not change in the family changing room? Can you not compete against people your own age? This person has been asked these questions and literally runs.
Mr. Cepeda, what is your deal? Why are you swimming with 13-year-olds? Why are you breaking world aquatic rules? Why are you running? What are you... Mr. Cepeda, are you a sexual pervert? Why won't you answer these questions? Why are you breaking world aquatic rules? You transitioned after puberty, did you not? Mr. Cepeda, why are you a coward? Do you have a record of sexual perversion?
Protect me from these people.
Protect us from what?
And demands protection and things of that nature. When the press are there to ask questions and hold the person accountable, they're not there to threaten his life. They're not there, to harm him in any way physically, but they're asking him questions. And the police are banding together. All those police officers are coming together to protect the person from being asked questions. Ooh, how scary. And they don't even want to address what they're doing, what they're enabling. They don't even want to address it. Do they go home at night and say, oh, I had a lovely day at work today, wife and kids? You'd be so proud of me. I prevented a predator from being accosted. I prevented a predator from being held accountable. Is that what they're proud to go home and tell their family? That they were involved in, that they were basically involved in enabling a 50-year-old man to shower in the locker rooms with 13-year-old girls. They stopped the press from reporting on it and allowed the 50-year-old man into the building, to remain in the building, while telling the member of the press who pays taxes, for these public aquatic centres, with these leisure centres that are there for the public, that he's trespassing. The 50-year-old man in the changing room, though, with 13-year-old girls, he's not trespassing, apparently. He's allowed to be there. And the police are using their resources to enable that. How disgusting. It's like they're in a world of their own. They don't want to be in touch with reality. Clearly. Because they won't even let David get a question out to them. Are you okay with this? It's a very simple question. And it's a very simple answer, yes or no. So people are paying taxes for police, for their leisure centres, to basically enable predatory behaviour, to basically put children in danger. Because even having to see a man naked in your locker room, that in itself is abusive. No child should be exposed to that. No child should have to go through that. No parent should have to hear of their child being subjected to that when you send them to participate in sports. This is something now that parents have to be concerned with. As soon as all those parents say that my child is not competing against a 50-year-old man, as soon as the parents say that, every single one of them, this stops. It stops. Because without the 13-year-old girls, there is no 13-year-old girls category. Without the 13-year-old girls, that category ceases to exist. And Nicholas will have to swim alone. So there has been some crazy conditioning that has been going on, coming from our press, coming from our politicians. And this is the result of that. People can't even say unequivocally that this is wrong. They can't even say it. They don't even want to be confronted with the question. Because it exposes them and what they're enabling. It exposes that people have lost their dang minds. So I do have some good news, at least with this story. There's a slight victory that has occurred recently. Nicholas was prevented from competing in the most recent event. He was prevented from competing because it was cancelled. The aquatic centre, I like to think the aquatic centre cancelled it because it's wrong. I like to think they cancelled it because of that, but apparently they cancelled it because of all the publicity, because they knew the press were going to be there. They knew it was going to be reported on, whether the police were there or not. They knew that people were going to kick up a lot of fuss about it. They were ready to get their phones out and film what was going on and expose what was being allowed. So apparently they didn't want to deal with that, so they cancelled the whole thing. And it's bittersweet. David describes it as bittersweet because these young kids, they're now missing out. Their competition was cancelled because of a friggin' grown man who knows better. This is disgraceful.
The host club here is the Aurelia Channel Cats. And originally, Nicholas's club, that would be the Orangeville Otters, was slated to appear here. But my insiders here in Aurelia tell me that the Channel Cats Club was petrified of this tournament turning into a media circus. And what they did is they reached out to Orangeville, allegedly, and said, please don't come. And Orangeville has obliged. They're actually going to be at a Toronto swim meet starting tomorrow instead. So I think we can chalk this up as a bittersweet victory. I say bittersweet because the authorities convinced the Orangeville Otters not to come here and not have that perversity in the pool that is Nicolas Cepeda competing. But the bitterness here is I think of all the little boys and girls who are members of the Orangeville Otters. They don't get to compete either, but isn't that just the way we roll today? If it's trans, it's good, and if it's good, it's trans. And this selfish, entitled man, instead of saying, I'll remove myself from the club for the Aurelia meet, no, he has spoiled it for everyone. I wonder how they're going to do in Toronto. We'll be in Toronto to cover that as well.
And there's at least one occasion where those young girls are not going to see this man in their locker room. But it's ruined it for the kids. That's one competition of theirs that's been cancelled. But they're still going to compete in Toronto. This club, the Otters, I believe, they're allowing this. This club has decided that they're going to allow a 50-year-old male on their team. This club has decided that they're going to expose the young swimmers, the young female swimmers, to this person. They've decided that that's okay for some reason. Not only that, they're going all over the country competing and exposing other young ladies to this person as well. Competing against a 50-year-old man who doesn't want to answer questions. If you believe what you're doing is okay, if you really have gender dysphoria and you believe what you're doing is okay, why would you not answer questions? But instead, this person friggin' ran like the coward he is. So let me know what you think. Absolute insanity, as David puts it. Transanity. You can't make this stuff up. You really can't. But this is happening in 2024. It is happening. And it's been happening for a few years now. So at some point, we have to ask the question, where do we draw the line? Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.